standing there with a guitar.
They can.
Right.
All right.
What was I going on? Oh, what was I talking about? Oh, yes. I started working immediately because I just thought that was my relationship with my feelings. So I shared them, and I think they were helpful to some people.
You know how people, when they have tragedy, they say, like, this is what they would have want me to have done. Especially athletes say that all the time. Like, my grandmother would have wanted me to play. Did you ever have a thought like that? Like, Lynn would have expected me to continue to do what I do and not stop?
I don't know. You're in an awful lot of shock. So I don't like, I knew I was having these feelings that were profound and unlike anything I'd experienced before. And I couldn't control them. And I think I was surprised at that and the sort of genuine, I mean, like anybody would have had it, but like, I don't think I'm one to acknowledge how deep my love is when people are alive or in general.
Right.
So I don't know that I thought about what she would have thought, but I tried to respect her. And I felt on some level, in retrospect, I think there's like, obviously she has family, she has people who have known her longer than me and all this other stuff. And I didn't want to be disrespectful for them either, but this is what I do. So I felt if anything, on some level, it might have been a little jarring for the people that have known her all her life to have this new guy who none of them knew that well, crying publicly.
Oh.
So it was a little tricky. But speaking about what? Go ahead. What?
Go ahead.
No. You go.
Yeah, I just want. So you were at that stage where you would have met all her closest people soon. Like it was that
right.
That stage where this is a real thing.
Right.
I'm gonna be with this guy. Right. I want everyone I know to know him and love him. Like it was that stage.
Right. It was before that. It's like a little. We'd known each other a long time, but that hadn't really happened yet. I'd met her parents in passing before they knew we were a thing.
Right.
And but no, I had to meet everybody through, telling them she was in the hospital. It's terrible.
Yeah.
But speaking about life and death, you look pretty well, and I assume it's because you have a baby.
I feel very tired. Thank you for saying I look very well. I'm incredibly. I've never been this happy and tired before.
How old is the baby?
A month.
A month old?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have a wife?
A partner. Yeah.
A partner, not a wife.
Yeah. No, we're not married.
Was the baby a surprise?
The baby was a surprise. We love each other very much. We both want to be parents. Like a child is a blessing, especially when you're in your mid to late 30s and you want a child.
Yeah.
If it wasn't a strong relationship, with someone who like I imagined I wanted to be with almost from the moment I met her, like, this conversation wouldn't be happening. But like, we felt good about that, and I think marriage was something that was on the horizon, and now all of a sudden it's like, what's more important right now? To me, having a child with someone, in theory, is actually the bigger bond, right? Because whether or not you're together, you always have this child. You always have to deal with each other. You're always in each other's life, and committing to that is so much bigger.
Sure, but it adds a little extra oomph when it's harder to leave.
I don't know, man. I mean, I know enough people who like get. I mean, but you don't have kids though. You've never been in the situation of wanting,
Dude, I have seen it's like the beautiful thing that you said just then about commitment revolving around this new life that you will always have to be in each other's lives because of the children. I've heard that said with such bile in my life.
Yeah, I guess I'm. Yeah, I'm certainly not saying it with bile. I'm saying it I'm talking
about guys in the middle of a divorce, buddy. I'm talking it's like, I got to fucking see that bitch, all right? Because we got the kid, and I got to figure out how to get time with the kid now, so I got to say these things. I got to give this money. There's a different tone to exactly what you said.
Right. I mean, to me, it's like, well, this kid, is going to have two loving parents regardless of what happens, and that's how I'm viewing it. And
well, I think that's probably true at you, but you can only hope. I'm older than you, and I've seen some bad shit, but I have faith in you.
Well, I mean, I'm 38. I've seen some bad shit, Mark. It's not,
but you got better friends than I did. You seem like you're a little more well-adjusted. You think you turned out better than me? I'm talking to you like you're my brother. I still remember that night I met you when you were kind of intense and angry and sweaty and panicked.
That was years like 14 to 32,
But I know we've talked about this before. I think we talked about it the one time that we talked on the show, so it doesn't matter. But I just remember, and I want to sort of clear some stuff up, because I feel like for some reason when I see you and I'm watching the stand-up, I always know we knew each other, and I always knew that I was one of the first people you talked to about stand-up before you really started doing it. But then I always felt that there was a slight bit of tension between us.
That's true with everyone, isn't it? Like, you're making it sound like this is unique to me. Yes, I'm a person you've met.
No,
I'm a person that's known you for over a year.
That's not true. It's not true.
There is. Well, yeah, I think there is. I think, one, the power dynamic initially as, like, when I first spoke to you, I think I was 19 or 20 years old. I was a college
graduate student? You're a college student.
No, I was a college. I was a junior. I went to Bowdoin College, but I spent my study abroad year in Connecticut at Wesleyan University, where I took this pop culture class, and I used that as an excuse to write a paper about stand-up comedy.
Oh, right. That's right. You were writing a paper.
And which is a stupid essay people are still writing today. But anyway, so I used that as an excuse to contact comics from their web pages, because it was that easy back then in 2003. I just emailed you from your web page.
And now it's even easier. You just have to tweet at somebody something offensive, and there's an 80% chance they'll respond.
So I interviewed you and Doug Stanhope, and I went to the Cellar and interviewed like Greg Giraldo and Hood and Jim Norton and Tom Papa. Like, it was a whole Ted Alexandro. Like, there was a ton of people, and we spoke initially on the phone, and like I still have tapes of our phone call.
You do?
Yeah. In my parents' place. It's on old cassette tape. I haven't listened to them in years. I remember, like, obviously you and I in very different places back then. Like, I'm a kid really desperately wanting to do stand-up but being too afraid to, and using this as an excuse, this academic exercise, as an excuse to talk to real comics to understand what this business was.
Try to get some courage.
Right, exactly. And you were at a stage where you were unhappy with where your career was. I remember you getting really upset. Seemingly out of nowhere. And you mentioned Dane Cook, and I'm like, I don't know why people like that guy. I don't understand that. Like, I don't get why I can't fill a room. I don't understand.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm 19 or 20. I'm like, I like you. I don't know what to say. It was like a terrifying turn of events.
How can I help this man?
It's like, this is a grown man telling me how things didn't work out, and I'm trying to convince myself to do stand up. And it's like you're warning me, and I did not pay attention when I should have. You were warning me, don't let this happen to you.
Did it happen to you? It didn't happen to you.
What?
You didn't get bitter and mean and awful. Oh, yeah. I guess you kind of did.
I don't think I
made
ever
it work for you.
I don't think I ever got bitter or mean or awful, but I certainly wanted to stop a few times.
You know what it was? I think this is why I think that probably if there was any stress but I want to hear about because I remember sitting down with you at the Cellar. And
that was the second time, yeah.
But you were making me, you almost made me nervous because you were so intense and so filled with this sort of strange, what I thought was like defensive, angry energy. But you were just uncomfortable with everything about yourself.
Yeah. Well, I was, again, 19, 20, 21, I loved stand-up so much, and it was the only art form I could see myself doing, and I had done it through college and in high school, and I just loved it so much. I was uncomfortable, and I was thinking about, is stand-up a place for me? And I also, I would go down to the Cellar, when I was 18, 19, 20, because back then the Cellar was desperately looking for people to fill the seats during the weekdays, so you could get this coupon online, you'd get 2 sodas, and that's all you had to pay, and you could watch comedy on a Monday or a Tuesday
all
for
night.
Free.
Yeah.
It was incredible. And so I used to go to those shows where people were working stuff out and all that. And I would also see y'all were a little more hardened than you were a club comic. You were working clubs. It was like Patrice and Jim Norton and Voss and all these comics and Robert Kelly. And I'm seeing like people work in the crowd and it's rough. Nick DiPaolo. And I'm thinking, oh, I can't do this. I'm not built like that. I'm not built like that. Those guys. And to this day, by the way, it's, I still haven't played the Cellar. Still too afraid to do it. I feel like I've gotten to do all these incredible things I'm proud of, and that's the one thing because it was my child.
Oh my God.
And I know Chris Rock said he would vouch. Like, I had different people say they'd vouch, and I'm like, it's all right. I've opened for Chris on the road in the U.S. and Europe, and the thing I'm afraid of is playing the Cellar.
Dude, I'm still afraid of it. I play it.
Really?
But you don't know what's going to happen. There are guys that fucking live there. You get to a point, the thing about the Cellar is not unlike the Comedy Store original room, is that for some reason, if you show any real fear in those rooms, you will fail. And it will be, and it'll be hard. That's unforgiving. You can't be open-ended about things. You have to have a complete comfort about being on that stage, or else it will crush you. And you will feel it. So
I think that's also why your stand-up in particular at that time really hit me, because I'd watch, all these incredible comics, but you were different because you allowed yourself to be vulnerable. And I remember just thinking, like, on this stage in particular, it stood out. It was so different. It wasn't jokes. It wasn't just jokes and stories. It was like you were talking about painful things. You were making people uncomfortable by being so open and honest. And some sets were amazing, and some sets, you were clearly working stuff out. But like the fact you would, like, I had never really seen that before.
I used to make my peers leave the room. I'd be like, Attell, get out of here. Let me try to do this, please. Can I do it without you sitting there? You'd be like, what?
It's so funny to me because, like, you were playing that, and you were playing like Luna Lounge. Like,
I was at the cusp of what I think you ultimately created you. There was those places enabled me room to sort of take chances and work out in a way that you couldn't at the Comedy Store, because you had, Manny walking into the room and panicking and looking around and looking at you and seeing if they were laughing, and Esty would be like, I don't know, and you're like, oh fuck, it's so like, and then I could just go to Luna Lounge with all that oh fuck energy and just blow it out.
Yeah.
But it was weird because a lot of the people that were over there that started that were club comics, but then that world became, not this alternative world, but an alternate option.
Yes. I mean, I certainly think that space was definitely more conducive to what I do now. But, I started really seriously in Seattle, and I was doing the clubs there, and I was...
The underground and shit? You were living in Seattle?
Yeah, I mean, after I graduated from college, I tried to do it in New York, but I was like 21, and I'm like, I don't know. So I went to Seattle to be an immigrant rights organizer. That's actually what I'd planned to be. And I worked at an organization where the executive director was Pramila Jayapal, who's a congresswoman now from Seattle, and she was my mentor. And I did stand up at night at the underground and like the growing alt scene there, and it was a hobby. And so I just kind of developed it there, and it kind of took off. But yeah, the Seattle is still the city that like I will go to the most.
The original underground with old Ron down there.
Yeah. Did they move? Oh, yes, the original Underground. That's right, with the little bullpen in the back, basically, where the comics would wait and they go up. Yeah.
The stinky downstairs underneath that other bar.
Right, where you could see some of the original Pike Place Market before the city had burnt down.
Pioneer Square.
A century ago. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved that club. My God, between
that was a great place. It was a great place.
It's not